What you're about to hear might just make your blood boil. And if it doesn't, you're not paying attention. Anthony Albanese isn't just asleep at the wheel. He's driving the whole bloody country straight into a brick wall. While Aussies are struggling with skyrocketing rents, crumbling hospitals, and a defence force that couldn't hold a bar fight in Darwin, Albo's busy shaking hands with foreign leaders like he's auditioning for a UN internship. It's not just incompetence anymore. It's bloody betrayal, dressed up in a red tie and a tired grin. And if you reckon I'm exaggerating, buckle up, mate, because this is only the beginning. Before we tear into this Albanese disaster, where 100,000 illegals vanish, Trump ditches Albo, and Australia gets played like a fool. Smash that like button like you're slapping a deportation notice on Parliament House. Subscribe if you're done watching Anthony Albanese sell out everyday Aussies. And grab the Make Politics Honest Again shirt. Links in the description. Keep the shirt. Just make sure Albo sees it. Let's start with this little bombshell. Over 100,000 illegal migrants have apparently vanished into thin air. Gone. Poof. Like your paycheck on payday. No tracking. No deportation. Not even a cheers for coming. And what does Anthony Albanese have to say about it? Bugger all. The bloke acts like it's a clerical error. As if losing that many people in a country of 26 million is just a whoopsie. You try losing your license and see how fast they come knocking on your door. But 100,000 illegals? Nah, mate. That's just another Tuesday. In Albo's Australia. Now I know what you're thinking. Surely the Yanks are backing us, right? Wrong. Even the Americans are fed up. They're lining us up for a serve like it's the Bledisloe Cup, and we're about to get flogged. And can you blame them? Our defence spending's a bloody joke. Albanese keeps flapping on about submarines we'll get in the 2040s, like some sort of sci-fi promise. Mate, if war kicks off next week, are we meant to defend ourselves with old Crocodile Dundee DVDs and Tim Tams? Even Peter Jennings, who actually knows a thing or two about national security, called Albanese the worst Prime Minister for defence in Aussie history. That's not just a hot take. That's a full-blown indictment. The man can't grasp the basic idea that China is getting pushier by the day. Instead, Albo's running around telling us everything's sweet because he's met Xi Jinping 4 times. 4. As if that's some kind of magic number that wards off war. It's not diplomacy, it's delusion. Meeting a bloke 4 times doesn't mean he won't stab you in the back. It just means he knows exactly where your weak spots are. And let's talk about Trump, shall we? Whether you love him or hate him, Donald Trump had a spine. Albanese? He's already picking fights with Trump, and the bloke's not even in office again yet. Imagine thinking you can out-tough Trump on trade or military pressure. It's like bringing a toothpick to a gunfight. When Trump says, spend more on defense, he doesn't mean in 20 years, mate. He means now. But what does Albo do? Smile, nod, and promise submarines we'll probably never see. All while gutting the current military budget like it's a Christmas ham. Here's the scary bit. Right now, the world is on fire. Russia's rolling tanks into Ukraine. Israel's under constant rocket fire. Iran's making nukes under a bloody mountain. And us? We're sleepwalking through a minefield with Anthony Albanese humming Kumbaya and slashing defense spending like it's a charity budget. It's bloody madness. The Defense Department isn't even knocking on his door anymore. They've given up. They're just following orders and crossing their fingers, hoping the big red button never gets pushed. Albanese doesn't want to protect us. He wants to please the media, play international statesman, and act like global warming is our only threat. Sorry, mate, but no amount of solar panels is going to stop a Chinese warship from parking off our coast. And if you think I'm being harsh, go ask the farmers up north who can't even get local police to respond to border breaches. Ask the veterans who served with pride and now watch our defense capabilities get traded for a press release and a handshake. We're being played for fools. While other countries ramp up their readiness, we're cutting tanks and pinning our hopes on boats that don't exist yet. Albanese talks like a statesman but acts like a student union rep who wandered into Parliament by mistake. He doesn't get it. And worse, he doesn't want to get it. It's all politics, all spin, and zero spine. And don't even get me started on what's happening inside the country. Albanese's government is bending over backwards to accommodate people who've never paid tax, never served, and never pledged allegiance to Australia. If you're a hard-working Aussie trying to make ends meet, congrats, you're now bottom of the list. Services are stretched thin, but somehow there's always room for one more handout, just not for you. Now imagine you're an American general watching all this play out. Would you bet your soldiers' lives on a country that won't defend itself? Would you step in when Australia's Prime Minister is too busy virtue signalling to notice the storm brewing in the Pacific? Of course not. And that's the kicker. If we keep going down this road, we won't just lose our place on the world stage. We'll lose our allies too. And what does Anthony Albanese do when he's called out? He deflects, smiles, changes the topic. Suddenly it's about climate or Indigenous recognition or some abstract promise for the year 2043. The man can't even promise a secure present, but we're meant to trust him with the future. Pull the other one, mate. This isn't about left or right anymore. It's about whether you want a country that can defend itself or one that gets walked over like a welcome mat. And right now, with Albanese at the helm, we're not just a soft target. We're a joke. The only people not laughing are the ones who know what's coming if we don't wake the hell up. It's like we're living in a movie, but instead of a hero, we've got Anthony bloody Albanese reading the script upside down. Every day, he proves he's more interested in optics than outcomes. He'll take a selfie with a foreign leader, but won't take responsibility for the gaping holes in our national security. He'll tweet support for Ukraine, but won't put his money where his mouth is when it comes to funding our own military. Even our mates in the region are starting to whisper behind our backs. Countries like Japan and India are beefing up. They know what's coming. But Australia? We're still acting like it's 1998. Peace won't protect you when missiles start flying. And a submarine plan written on a napkin isn't going to stop a drone strike. The worst part is, people are too scared to say it. We're tiptoeing around the truth because no one wants to be called xenophobic or alarmist. But this isn't alarmism. This is survival. Anthony Albanese is not fit to lead a nation in these times. He's not strong enough, not sharp enough, and clearly not interested enough to keep us safe. And while he's busy picking diplomatic fights and playing dress-up for global summits, we've got 100,000 unaccounted for border crossers, a military in decline, and an intelligence community that's too politically muzzled to raise the alarm without risking their jobs. It's not just dangerous, it's bloody treasonous. You think that's strong language? Wait till you see what happens when the next global conflict hits and we've got nothing but promises and paper plans to defend ourselves with. Albanese might be good at speeches and soft interviews, but wars don't care about good PR. They care about readiness, strategy, and guts. And right now, we've got none of that. So if you're an Aussie who actually gives a toss about this country, if you're tired of being lied to, ignored, and left behind, it's time to start asking some hard questions. Because if Anthony Albanese keeps going down this path, we won't need to worry about elections. We'll be too busy trying to stay afloat while the whole bloody system collapses around us. And yeah, I'm fired up. You should be too. This isn't a drill. This isn't a hot take. This is your future, your kids' future, and the country we're all supposed to defend together. But one bloke at the top is tearing it down faster than the rest of us can patch it up. And that bloke is Anthony Albanese. We've already torn into Anthony Albanese's catastrophic defense blunders, but the mess goes way deeper than submarines and military budgets. We're talking about a slow, deliberate dismantling of everything that made this country strong, fair, and bloody proud. Albanese isn't just asleep. He's hijacked the nation's values, turned the lights off, and handed the keys to whoever yells loudest on Twitter. Let's talk about the border again. Yeah, I know, but it matters. Albanese's government is letting thousands pour in, some without background checks, some even after being flagged by intelligence agencies. You think that's exaggeration? Ask the insiders, the whistleblowers, the defense analysts, the frustrated immigration officials who've been silenced by a politically correct mob running Canberra like it's a university campus. They'll tell you what the PM won't. We've got a massive security breach, and the government's solution is to look the other way. And it's not just the border. Albanese's justice system is fast becoming a free-for-all. Repeat offenders get a slap on the wrist, while average Aussies defending their homes get dragged through the courts. If you're a farmer protecting your land from trespassers, you're the criminal now. If you question the system, you're a threat. The government talks a big game about fairness, but there's bugger all fairness when your taxes pay for lawyers defending non-citizens who've committed violent crimes and still get to stay here. What does Albanese say to all this? He waffles on about compassion. Mate, compassion without common sense is a recipe for disaster. And that's exactly what we've got. Albanese treats the Prime Minister's job like a charity CEO. He's more worried about overseas opinion than Aussie lives. While veterans sleep rough and pensioners ration their power bills, Albo's out here pledging millions to countries that wouldn't even vote for us at the UN. If that's leadership, I'm a kangaroo. You've got to ask, who is Anthony Albanese really working for? Because it sure as hell doesn't look like it's us. Is he working for the Aussie battler, struggling to pay rent and fill the tank? Or is he working for the global elite, the career bureaucrats, and the Twitter crowd who'll never have to live with the consequences of these gutless policies? Albanese wants to paint himself as the nice guy PM. But nice guys don't watch their country get weaker and do nothing. Nice guys don't ignore military experts begging for urgent funding. Nice guys don't call working Aussies racist for wanting strong borders. You know what real nice guys do? They put their people first. They protect their home. They make the tough calls. And Anthony Albanese hasn't made a single one. You reckon I'm being harsh? Good. Because that's what this moment demands. Harsh truths, brutal honesty, the kind of stuff no one on ABC will say out loud. Because if we don't say it now, it might be too late later. Now let's get real about China. Albanese wants you to believe he's stabilized the relationship, that everything's back to normal because he shook Xi Jinping's hand and smiled for a few press photos. But China isn't normal. They're building artificial islands and arming them. They're threatening Taiwan. They've hacked our universities, infiltrated our politics, bought up our ports, and we're acting like we're hosting a bloody barbecue. Under Albanese, our national posture has gone from cautious to cowardly. Every signal we send to Beijing says, we won't fight back. And don't think they haven't noticed. They're watching every budget cut, every delay in military readiness, every time Albo prioritizes social justice over national security. And when the time comes, when the pressure mounts in the Indo-Pacific, they'll remember exactly how soft we looked under Anthony Albanese. And speaking of softness, let's have a yarn about energy. Albanese is ripping apart our power grid in the name of a green future. Now look, I'm all for renewables, but not at the expense of reliability. Blackouts are back on the table, and businesses are already feeling the crunch. Miners, farmers, truckies, they're getting gouged, all while Albo takes victory laps over wind farms that aren't even hooked up to the bloody grid yet. Want to build a house? Good luck. Costs are through the roof. Want to hire a tradie? They're flat out, because there's no apprentices. Albanese keeps promising housing this, climate that, but everyday Aussies just want to turn on the heater without needing a bloody loan. The worst part, the bloke's proud of it. He stands up in Parliament and says, we're leading the world on climate. Mate, who cares if we're leading the world if we can't keep the lights on? And don't think the woke brigade hasn't had their fingers in the pie too. Albanese has handed over the steering wheel to activists and lobbyists with no skin in the game. They've turned every debate into a moral circus. Where facts don't matter, only feelings do. Want to talk about crime? That's racist. Want to talk about immigration? That's xenophobic. Want to talk about national defense? That's warmongering. The truth is, under Anthony Albanese, we've become a nation afraid of its own voice, and that's not just cultural. It's institutional. Our schools are teaching kids more about gender theory than geography. Our universities are pumping out ideology instead of skills. The public service is bloated with career activists who care more about their pronouns than their portfolios. And Albo, he claps along like it's the school play. No pushback. No standards. Just endless virtue signaling while the rest of the country gets mugged by reality. Meanwhile, the middle class, the backbone of this nation, is being hollowed out. Albanese's tax policies don't punish the rich. They punish the worker, the bloke who earns just enough to get by, but not enough to escape the squeeze. Petrol's up, groceries are up, power bills are up. And what's the government doing? Throwing crumbs at you and acting like they've just cured cancer. But the kicker, the real insult, is that Albanese has the gall to call this progress, to stand there with his smug grin and tell Aussies they've never had it better. Mate, open your bloody eyes. People are scared. They're angry. They're sick of being told they're privileged when they can't even afford to take their kids on a holiday. They're tired of being lectured by people who've never held a shovel, swung a hammer, or run a small business. And when people do speak out, when they raise concerns, Albanese's mob calls them divisive. You know what's divisive? Watching your country become unrecognizable and being told to clap for it. Watching your tax dollars fund programs for people who hate everything about this nation. That's not inclusion. That's suicide. Albanese's government wants to rewrite history, tear down statues, and shame anyone proud of being Aussie. They've turned the national conversation into a guilt trip. But we don't need more guilt. We need guts. We need someone who'll stand up and say, "This is Australia. Love it or leave." Instead, we've got a bloke who'd rather kneel, so here's the truth they won't say on the news. Anthony Albanese is the biggest political con job this country has ever seen. He promised unity and delivered division. He promised strength and delivered submission. He promised vision and gave us TikTok politics and 10-year plans written by consultants who've never left Sydney. And here's the scariest bit. He still thinks he's doing a great job. So what now? What do? When the bloke running the joint is the problem? We fight back. We call it out. Loud. Clear. No apologies. Because silence is how we got here in the first place. Talk to your mates. Share the facts. Don't get bullied into shutting up. You love your country? Say it. You think our borders should be secure? Say it. You think our military should be strong, our laws respected, and our leaders held accountable? Bloody well say it. And if Albanese and his cronies want to call you a bigot or a bogan or unenlightened, good. Wear it like a badge of honor. Because the people destroying this country aren't brave enough to get their hands dirty. But you are. And let me tell you something else. We're not alone. Every pub, every job site, every servo across this country has people talking about this stuff. People who see what's happening and are sick to death of the lies. All it takes now is courage. The courage to speak. The courage to vote. The courage to demand better. Anthony Albanese has had his chance. And he's blown it. He could have been a leader. He chose to be a puppet. He could have stood for something. He chose to bow to everything. And now, we're the ones paying the price. This isn't just political. It's personal. This is our homes, our families, our safety, our future. And if we don't stand up now, we might not get another shot. So stay angry. Stay awake. And don't stop fighting. Because if we don't hold Anthony Albanese accountable now, we'll be telling our kids stories about what Australia used to be. Before a coward in a suit sold it off piece by piece and called it progress. Now, do me a favour. Share this video with someone who still thinks Albanese is doing all right. Send it to your mate who reckons politics doesn't matter. Stick it in the group chat and see who's got the guts to admit we've been conned. This isn't the Australia we grew up in, but it damn well can be again. Stay loud, stay bold, and for the love of country, don't let the bloke in the lodge keep getting away with this, because Anthony Albanese has already done enough damage, and we're just getting started. See you in the next one. And don't forget to slap that like button like it just let 100,000 illegals stroll past border control. Oi, and if you're properly fed up, grab the Make Politics Honest Again tee. Wear it to the next rent inspection, the next town hall, or just down the street while you're paying for services that Albo's handing out to people who shouldn't even be here. Stay loud. Stay sharp. And never stop calling out the circus that's running this country into the ground.